Hello everyone and welcome back to Channel Mum. Today I want to talk to you about being a working mum. I've just got back from work, so I'm probably pretty tired looking right now, but you know, it's as good as time as any to talk about it. And the reason I want to talk about it is because it's a bit of a weird topic, isn't it? I think so anyway. So starting with me personally, because that's really the only kind of like experience I can give you, isn't it? I was 23 years old when I found out I was pregnant with my son William, and it was quite a shock. And at that time things were going pretty well for me. I was the group editor of a business publishing house, and I was basically managing a bit of a small team, and there were like several magazines that I was in charge of, and I edited one of them myself as well. So, you know, I trained in journalism. It was absolutely the kind of career that I wanted to do, and things were going well. Like, I was doing up my house, which was like an old rundown 1840s building, and I felt like I was really on the path that I thought I was going to be on. And then I found out I was pregnant. Now at 23, at least when you aren't planning to have a child, you don't automatically think of your next, like, you know, your 20s being full of, you know, nappies and children and you know, putting somebody else first. And I did have to put that to the wayside and grow up quite quickly, and it was hard. And what was hard about it as well at the time is that I didn't have any sort of additional maternity pay structure in place. It was just SMP, like statutory maternity pay, and I had to, while I was pregnant, fix up our house so it was like suitable for a baby, have a nursery all done and everything like that. And this wasn't just a house that needed a lick of paint. Like, there were problems with the ceiling in William's nursery, and there was so much work that needed to get done, and it was a project, and doing that with a bump is not easy. So I was saving up money to afford things on the house, and as a result my maternity pay took a hit, and I was breadwinner at the time, when I was in a relationship with William's dad, who I'm not with anymore, and I couldn't really afford to take much time out of work. And I remember one time on my lunch break I could feel William wiggling away in my tummy, and I had my head over a piece of paper where I printed out all of these sums, and I was trying to work out how much money I would have to get by and what I would need to afford. You know, not just our way of life, it's not like we were living a life of luxury at all, but just to get by. And it worked out that in total I could have, I think it was just under, was it 11 weeks maternity leave or 12 weeks maternity leave. And at the time that felt like a lot for me. 12 weeks felt like a really long time, because I thought it might even have to be less. And I worked up until 39 plus 4 days pregnant, and the idea being in my head that I would finish, and then, you know, the next week I might have a baby, and that would work out quite nicely. Except William was 13 days late, like 2 weeks late, and I had to be induced. So I did spend about 2.5 weeks just hanging around waiting for this baby. And he arrived, and as such it meant that I had like 8 weeks or 8.5 weeks, something like that, with him. And it was really hard, and I never really got that experience of like worrying about going back to work or having someone else fill my shoes or anything like that, because I was gone for such a small amount of time that it's almost like I hadn't gone at all. And yeah, it was really difficult. And I remember getting in the car with my friend Eve and the accountant John, who was a lovely man, and I remember sitting in the back seat of his car with like tears streaming down my face. And Eve, like, she's like my best friend and colleague, like that's the best thing I got from that job. She just was looking back and like holding my hand, and it was the hardest day of my life. And I remember getting home and just like rushing through the door to be with William, and it was such a relief. And it was hard because prior to that I had been about the achievements, I had been about my personal successes, but on that day I realised that it was the biggest regret of my life, and it wasn't ever really anything I could ever undo. And I remember expressing at work, I used to go in the server room and I would sit there to the lovely sound of my electronic pump. And I had a pump that would only fit on one boob, so then I had a manual on the other, and I used to dual pump, and I used to just sit there and try and read a book and try and be as normal as possible about it. But it was a real challenge. It's not easy. It's not easy having your colleagues joke about running out of milk and whether or not they can use some of yours in their brew and things like that. And I know it's all meant in jest, but sometimes when it's a challenge and you're wondering and worrying about why you got 2 ounces less that day and things like that, it's not nice. And eventually that job just wasn't right for me. It wasn't that I couldn't hack it anymore. It was more the situation wasn't right for me. I didn't want to be working away from home. There were days where I would go to exhibitions and things, and I'd be away for William for a few days, and you know, sneaking away at the end of an exhibition to go and quickly pump milk in your hotel room before you have to go out with clients was not my idea of the motherhood that I imagined for myself. And I changed jobs, and I'm now somewhere where I have sweet relief because I can work flexible hours. I start at 8:30 and I finish at 4:30. And they are long days when you add an hour's travel either side, and it is incredibly difficult to do that sometimes. And I never really got a very long time with my son. 8 weeks feels like a lifetime now. If I could have 8 weeks again with him now, I'd take it. But it is a challenge, and it's one I will live with for the rest of my life, that feeling of regret at how it worked out. And now I am with my partner Mark, who is William's stepdad, and we met at work, so you know, work is not always a bad thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to get emotional. And we are going to consider having a child of our own and give William a brother or sister. And this time it's definitely something that I want to get right, and I'm definitely going to take the time that I need off with my child, and hopefully try and make up for some lost time with William. That's a huge priority to me. But I did want to end on the fact that working is hard, and I'm not saying it's harder than being a stay-at-home mum or any variation of motherhood. It does have its challenges because you do miss your children incredibly, and you do have to fit chores and housework in on, you know, a couple of days of the weekend, and that is hard. Like on the days that I have worked from home, for example, I've been able to save time in the morning, so I've been able to put like a wash load in the washing machine and just get things done, or quickly put things away before I start work, and it does make a big difference. But you can't work from home all the time. That's not good for a team environment, is it? And there are great things. I became a single mother for a while, and I was able to afford to keep our home and pay our mortgage payments and look after my son, and I didn't have to ask anybody for help, and that was an incredible feeling for me. And you do get benefits. Obviously you do get to go on like breaks away, and we do have more expendable money, and it's not a case of like, oh Charlotte, why don't you work less? It's more of a case of like, if one of us earned just that little bit more, maybe I could, but our wages are very equal, so it makes a massive difference if there's a wage drop on either side. But I just wanted to tell you my story. I think that having something for yourself, whatever that might be, whether or not that's work or a hobby or whatever it is really important as a mum. I do go to work and I am someone else for a day, like 5 days a week, 8:30 till 4:30, but I'm always a mum. And I think there are good times and bad times to any situation, but you do get through. And even though you might have teary moments like I just have, it is okay, like working isn't hell, and it's okay if you want to work, and it's okay if you don't want to work. Like, this is your motherhood and you own that, and nobody else can tell you what to do with it. So yeah, that is my experience. I would love to hear, like, you know, the choices you made in the comments below and things like that. I find it really, like, refreshing to hear other people's stories and, like, hear what it's like on the other side of the fence, because I know it isn't all sunshine and daffodils and unicorns and rainbows. I mean, it might be if you've got a child with an active imagination, but I know it's not always like that for the mums. But thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you next time with another video at some point. But yeah, I will see you soon. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and have a look through all the other videos as well. I've got to plug that at the end because I think this channel is awesome. So yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.